For decades, Iran has stood at the center of one of the most dangerous geopolitical struggles in the modern world. A nation of more than 80 million people. A civilization thousands of years old. A country whose influence stretches across the Middle East. Yet behind Iran's ancient history lies a modern political system shaped by revolution, religion, and power. At the center of that system stood one man, Ali Khamenei. For more than 30 years, he served as the most powerful figure in Iran. To supporters, he was the defender of the Islamic Revolution. To critics, he represented repression, censorship, and a system that crushed dissent. But how did Iran reach this moment? To understand the present, we must return to the beginning. Before the Islamic Republic, Iran was ruled by a monarchy. The country's leader was Mohammad Reza Pahlavi, known as the Shah of Iran. The Shah maintained strong alliances with the United States and Western Europe. His government pushed aggressive modernization. Cities expanded. Oil revenues fueled economic growth. Western culture spread rapidly through Iranian society. But modernization came with heavy political control. Opposition parties were suppressed. Critics were arrested. The Shah's secret police, known as Savak, monitored political opponents. Many religious leaders believed Iran was losing its Islamic identity. Among the most vocal critics was a cleric named Ruhollah Khomeini. From exile, Khomeini called for revolution. Among his followers was a young cleric named Ali Khamenei. In 1979, protests erupted across Iran. Millions marched through the streets demanding the end of the monarchy. Eventually, the Shah fled the country. Ayatollah Khomeini returned from exile to a massive welcome. The Islamic Revolution had succeeded. Iran was transformed into the Islamic Republic. Religion would now dominate politics. Clerics would hold ultimate authority. Among the rising figures in the revolutionary system was Ali Khamenei. During the early years of the Islamic Republic, Iran faced enormous challenges. Internal instability, economic turmoil, and war. In 1980, Iraq invaded Iran. The Iran-Iraq War would last 8 brutal years. Hundreds of thousands were killed during this period. Ali Khamenei's influence grew. In 1981, he became president of Iran. But the ultimate authority remained with Ruhollah Khomeini. That changed in 1989. When Khomeini died, Iran's leadership selected Ali Khamenei as the new supreme leader. The position gave him enormous power. He controlled the military, the intelligence services, the judiciary, and the powerful Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps. For the next 3 decades, he would dominate Iranian politics. Relations between Iran and the United States collapsed after the revolution. In 1979, Iranian militants stormed the U.S. Embassy in Tehran. American diplomats were taken hostage for 444 days. The crisis permanently damaged relations between the two countries. Over time, tensions grew even deeper. During the 1980s, Iran expanded its influence across the Middle East. One of the groups it supported was Hezbollah. Hezbollah emerged during Lebanon's civil war. The group received funding, weapons, and training from Iran. In October 1983, a devastating truck bomb targeted U.S. Marines stationed in Beirut. The explosion killed 241 American service members. It became the deadliest attack on U.S. Marines since World War II. That same year, another bombing destroyed the U.S. Embassy in Beirut. Dozens of people were killed. These attacks deepened hostility between Tehran and Washington. Over the years, Iran built a network of allied militias across the Middle East. These groups included Hezbollah in Lebanon and Hamas in Gaza. Iran described them as resistance movements. Israel and the United States classified them as terrorist organizations. This rivalry would shape Middle Eastern politics for decades. Inside Iran, unrest continued to grow. In 2009, a disputed election triggered the Green Movement protests. Millions demanded political reform. Security forces responded with arrests and crackdowns. Years later, another wave of protests shook the country. In 2022, the death of Mahsa Amini sparked nationwide demonstrations. Protesters filled the streets. Many women removed their headscarves in defiance. The crowds chanted, "Woman, life, freedom." Human rights groups reported hundreds killed. Thousands were arrested. The protests revealed deep divisions within Iranian society. By the early 2010s, Iran faced crippling economic sanctions. After years of negotiations, a major diplomatic breakthrough occurred on July 14, 2015. The agreement was called the Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action, often known as the Iran nuclear deal, negotiated under U.S. President Barack Obama. The deal limited Iran's nuclear program. In exchange for sanctions relief, Iran agreed to reduce its enriched uranium stockpile and allow international inspections, but the agreement also included a controversial financial settlement. On January 17, 2016, the United States transferred $400 million in cash to Iran. The money was flown to Tehran in foreign currencies, packed on wooden pallets. It was part of a $1.7 billion settlement resolving a decades-old dispute over weapons purchased before the revolution. Supporters called the deal a diplomatic breakthrough. Critics argued it strengthened Iran financially, while only delaying its nuclear ambitions. In 2018, U.S. President Donald Trump withdrew from the nuclear agreement. The United States reimposed sweeping sanctions. The strategy became known as maximum pressure. Iran's currency collapsed. Inflation soared, and tensions across the Middle East intensified. One of Iran's most secret nuclear facilities was located deep inside a mountain. The Fordo Uranium Enrichment Facility, built underground to survive airstrikes. Inside the mountain, advanced centrifuges enriched uranium. Western intelligence agencies feared the facility could eventually produce material for nuclear weapons. On October 7, 2023, militants from Hamas launched a surprise attack into Israel. Gunmen crossed the border from Gaza. Hundreds of Israeli civilians were killed. Hostages were taken. The attack shocked the world. Israel responded with a massive military campaign in Gaza. Airstrikes and ground operations targeted Hamas infrastructure. The conflict triggered a wider regional crisis. Iran's allies across the Middle East increased attacks on Israeli and Western targets. The region moved closer to a larger confrontation. By the mid-2020s, Iran faced enormous pressure. Economic sanctions, political unrest, international isolation, and rising tensions with Israel and the United States. Many analysts believed the country was approaching a historic turning point. In late February 2026, tensions between Iran, Israel, and the United States reportedly reached a breaking point. On February 28, 2026, a series of coordinated airstrikes reportedly targeted Iranian military infrastructure and leadership compounds in Tehran. Among the reported targets was a compound believed to be connected to Iran's supreme leader, Ali Khamenei. Shortly after the strikes, reports began circulating across international media, suggesting he may have been killed in the attack. Reports of the death of Ali Khamenei sent shockwaves across Iran. Within hours, videos began appearing on social media. In some neighborhoods of Tehran and other major cities, groups of people gathered in the streets. Some were seen clapping. Others set off fireworks. For many Iranians who had spent years protesting government repression, the moment felt historic. Some protesters chanted the same slogan heard during earlier demonstrations: "Woman, life, freedom." Cars honked their horns late into the night. Young people recorded videos, sharing them across messaging apps and social media platforms despite the risk of government surveillance. But the reaction across the country was not the same everywhere. Supporters of the Islamic Republic mourned the man they saw as the defender of the revolution. State media called for unity and warned against unrest. Security forces increased their presence in major cities. Meanwhile, the international community watched closely. Tensions between Israel, United States, and Iran had already pushed the region toward a dangerous confrontation. Now, with Iran's most powerful leader suddenly gone, the future of the country, and the balance of power across the Middle East, appeared more uncertain than ever. For millions of Iranians, the question was no longer about the past. It was about what comes next. If confirmed, his death would mark one of the most dramatic moments in Middle Eastern politics in decades. For more than 30 years, Khamenei had ruled as Iran's most powerful leader. His leadership defined an era of confrontation between Iran, Israel, and the United States. But his sudden disappearance from the political stage could leave Iran facing an uncertain future. According to Iran's constitution, the Assembly of Experts must choose a new supreme leader. Yet the transition could trigger intense power struggles inside the country. The powerful Revolutionary Guard would likely play a decisive role. For millions of Iranians, the future now hangs in the balance. After decades of conflict, sanctions, and political repression, the question remains: what comes after the era of Ali Khamenei? Will Iran move toward reform or deeper confrontation with the world? Only time will tell. Thanks for watching. If this story surprised you, make sure to subscribe for more powerful true stories from around the world.